Welcome to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into one of the most transformative shifts in enterprise technology, agentic AI and multi-agent systems. If you've been following AI developments, you've probably noticed the hype around chatbots starting to cool. Well, that's because something bigger is emerging in 2026, and it's going to fundamentally change how businesses automate their operations.
Exactly, Alex. And what's fascinating is the speed of this transition. We're not talking about some distant future. Organizations are already moving from simple reactive chatbots to autonomous AI agents that can make decisions, execute tasks, and adapt on the fly. It's a genuine paradigm shift, not just incremental improvement.
So let's ground this. What's the actual difference between the chatbots we've been hearing about and these new agentic systems? Because on the surface, they might sound similar to the average listener.
That's a great question. Traditional chatbots are essentially reactive. You ask them something, they pattern match against their training data or a knowledge base, and they respond. Agentic AI is fundamentally different. These systems operate proactively. They set goals, break complex problems into subtasks, make decisions independently, and continuously learn from outcomes. They're more like autonomous workers than scripted responders.
That sounds powerful, but also maybe a bit scary to some people. Are we talking about systems that can just do whatever they want?
No, not at all. The autonomy is constrained and goal-oriented. Think of it this way. You define the objective, set guardrails, and the agent figures out the best path to achieve it within those constraints. Plus, agentic systems include explainability, transparent decision trails so you can audit exactly why they took an action. That's crucial for compliance and trust.
The numbers behind this shift are pretty staggering. I saw that Gartner is predicting roughly 30% of enterprise software interactions will move to agentic systems by 2026. That's up from less than 5% in 2024. That's an incredible acceleration.
It is, and it reflects real organizational readiness. Enterprises have spent years building AI infrastructure, data pipelines, and team expertise. Now they're ready to move beyond experimental pilots to production deployments. And the ROI is compelling. IBM's data shows organizations using multi-agent architectures see 45% improvements in automation efficiency and 38% cost reductions.
Okay, so let's talk about multi-agent systems specifically. That sounds like a more complex setup than a single agentic AI.
It is, but in a good way. Multi-agent systems are where things get really powerful. Instead of one agent doing everything, you deploy specialized agents that each handle distinct domains. One might focus on customer triage, another on knowledge retrieval, a third on compliance validation. They coordinate with each other, which means parallel processing and way fewer handoffs.
Give us a concrete example of how this would work in a real customer service scenario.
Sure. A customer contacts your company with a complex complaint. The triage agent immediately evaluates the request, figures out complexity and urgency. Then the knowledge agent pulls relevant information. Maybe it taps into RAG systems, documentation, previous similar cases. Meanwhile, the resolution agent is standing by. Once it has the context, it executes the solution. Could be a refund, service adjustment, whatever. But before anything happens, the compliance agent validates it meets regulatory requirements. If the issue is still beyond scope, the escalation agent routes it to the right human specialist.
That's fascinating because the customer gets fast, consistent, compliant responses, but you're not losing the human element for genuinely complex issues.
Exactly. And the whole thing happens in seconds or minutes, not days. The humans aren't bogged down in routine triage and resolution. They're handling genuinely nuanced situations where their judgment matters. That's a massive quality-of-life improvement for customer service teams.
We should also talk about RAG 2.0 because that seems to be a critical piece of the puzzle here. What's evolved from RAG 1.0?
RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, has been foundational for enterprise AI, but version 1.0 had limitations. It was pretty static. RAG 2.0 introduces persistent, context-aware intelligence. The system isn't just retrieving documents in isolation anymore. It understands relationships between pieces of knowledge, maintains context across conversations, and continuously updates its understanding as new information flows in.
So it's learning and evolving rather than just looking things up?
Precisely. RAG 2.0 systems can understand that a customer's complaint today might be related to a product issue reported last week, which connects to a known supplier problem from 2 weeks ago. They build a dynamic knowledge graph instead of treating queries as isolated lookup operations. That contextual richness is what allows agentic systems to make smarter decisions.
I want to pivot to something that's definitely on every enterprise's mind right now: compliance. The EU AI Act is coming, and I imagine that factors heavily into how companies should be architecting these systems.
It's huge. The EU AI Act creates compliance obligations that organizations need to bake in from day one, not retrofit later. And honestly, this is where the explainability and audit trails I mentioned earlier become legally essential. If an agentic system makes a consequential decision, denying a service, flagging suspicious activity, prioritizing a customer, you need to show exactly why it did that.
So companies can't just deploy an autonomous system and hope for the best.
No, you need governance, monitoring, human oversight protocols, and transparent decision-making. The good news is that many agentic AI platforms are building compliance into their architecture from the start. Transparent decision trails, audit logs, the ability to override or modify agent behavior, these are becoming standard features, not afterthoughts. Organizations that embrace this now will have a major advantage when regulatory enforcement actually kicks in.
Let's talk about the practical side. If someone's listening and thinking, okay, this sounds good, but where do I actually start?
Start with a specific, high-impact use case. Customer service is the obvious one because the ROI is measurable: reduced ticket volume, faster resolution times, happier customers. Begin with a single workflow or process, implement a small multi-agent system, and measure results. Don't try to automate your entire operation on day one. Build internal expertise, refine your approach, and scale from there.
And I imagine evaluating vendors is important here. There are tools out there like Etherbot that are specifically designed for this kind of implementation?
Absolutely. When evaluating platforms, look for ones that offer built-in RAG capabilities, multi-agent orchestration, transparent decision-making, and compliance features. Ask about explainability, audit trails, and how agents handle edge cases or novel situations. And crucially, understand how well the platform integrates with your existing systems, your CRM, back-end databases, knowledge repositories. A system that only works in isolation won't deliver enterprise value.
What would you say is the biggest mistake companies might make as they move into agentic AI?
Treating it like traditional software implementation, just flipping a switch. Agentic systems require different governance, different team structures, and different monitoring approaches. You need someone who understands both the business logic and the AI system, evaluating agent behavior continuously. Also, moving too fast without proper data preparation and system integration. Your agents are only as good as the data and systems they can access.
So patience and planning win the day?
Exactly. Move deliberately, measure obsessively, and stay focused on business outcomes, not technology for its own sake. The enterprises that nail this will be the ones that treat agentic AI as a transformation effort, not a technology purchase.
This has been incredibly illuminating, Sam. Before we wrap, are there any final thoughts on what's coming in 2026 and beyond?
The shift to agentic systems is not a prediction. It's already happening. Organizations that start building expertise and infrastructure now will have a substantial competitive advantage. And as these systems mature, we'll see increasingly sophisticated multi-agent orchestration across entire value chains, not just customer service. The enterprises that get this right will operate at a completely different speed and scale.
Listeners, if you want to dive deeper into agentic AI, RAG 2.0, multi-agent architectures, and EU AI Act compliance strategies, head over to etherlink.ai and check out the full blog post. You'll find detailed guidance, real-world scenarios, and implementation frameworks. Thanks for joining us on EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, she's Sam, and we'll catch you next time.